Good morning and welcome to this special pre-recorded edition of Nature Watch. Nature Watch is sponsored by Waddell's Nursery, Floral, Garden, and Bird Center at the corner of 12th Street and Millam Road. And now your host of Nature Watch, please welcome Gary Miller.
And good morning. Looks like the weather's going to be a little colder again, if the forecast is true. We'll see maybe some of that white stuff coming down. Spring's coming soon, so we just got another month and a half, almost 2 months. So we'll actually almost 2 months. We'll see how soon that comes to fruition. So we've got some neat holidays coming up this next week. And actually, I was going to talk about, in one of them, I'm going to talk about something I saw this last Saturday when I was leaving the show and going home. So on the 20th is Take a Walk Outdoors Day. And good chance to, maybe the weather's going to be a little decent. You can go out and take a walk outside, get away from the computers and the television screen, go out and enjoy some nature. The U.S., I guess some neat facts about walking too. The U.S. walks the least of any industrialized nation. The average American only walks 5,000 steps a day. The average Australian walks 9,600 plus steps a day, while the average Japanese walks 7,100 plus steps. It would take almost 2 hours to burn off the calories of a Big Mac simply by walking. So maybe lighten up on the food and do some more walking, maybe lose some weight. People who want to lose weight should take 10,000 plus steps a day. And if you really just want to improve your health, walk 6,000 plus steps a day. A 20-minute walk is about 2,000 steps. And it takes about 200 steps to cover the average city block. So people used to walk all over. People don't walk as much as they used to. So neat to maybe get some more exercise out there. I'm going to come back to the next holiday after I do some events coming up. So Kalamazoo Astronomical Society today is starting their Introduction to Amateur Astronomy, their 5-part lecture series. So go to their website. It's in the afternoon, so you can do that via Zoom and maybe learn some about astronomy and become an amateur astronomist. Waddell's Green Thumb Club classes start today, and there's a 10 o'clock and 11:15 classes. If you look at the website at waddells.com and go to the events, Green Thumb Club, and you will see the listing of classes. There are several classes that might be interesting to you folks that are listening and interested in nature. There's one coming up later in the series talking about insects, and we've got looking at some plants in that, so you might want to see some of those classes, something to do on a Saturday and don't want to sit home and watch cartoons or something. The Audubon Society is doing a Let's Go Owling field trip later today from 5 to 8 p.m. Go to their website, and the Audubon Society Kalamazoo, and they are meeting at the commuter lot at D Avenue and 131, and they're going to Allegan State Game Area. They recommend bringing a flashlight or headlamp, dress for the cold, because they're going to be standing around in the cold, and they're going to try to listen for calls of screech, barred, and great horned owls. They might not see them, but you might be able to hear them. So it'll be something fun to do. Go out in the dark, and maybe you'll have some clear skies and be able to see some stars, too. We'll see. The neat meetings coming up, too. So the Audubon Society has their monthly meeting coming up on Monday the 26th. So you got another week plus. But just thought I had mentioned that so you can get a plan on that. Allison Vlog is going to be talking about keeping watch banding raptors for the first time at Manitou Island Lighthouse, which is out in Lake Superior off the Keweenaw Peninsula. And she's got some neat interest. She's done quite a bit of birding, and this is actually more of a hobby for her, not a full-time job. So but she's been doing a lot of birding around the country over all the years, and so very experienced. That meeting takes place at the People's Church on North 10th Street, Kalamazoo. So go to the Audubon Society Kalamazoo's website, and you can find all the details. The Michigan Botanical Society, Southwestern Chapter, has their meeting coming up on Monday, January 19th at 7 p.m. at Western Michigan University in Wood Hall. If you go to the Michigan Botanical Society and then go to the page for the Southwestern Michigan Chapter calendar, you can find the information on that. Dr. Tyler Bassett, a conservation associate botanist with the Michigan Natural Features Inventory, is going to be talking about The History and Future of Michigan Prairies. And I thought that'd be a very interesting talk to sit in on. You're welcome, even though you may not be a member of the Botanical Society. And that begins at 7 p.m. Socializing begins at 6:30. So find the info on the Michigan Botanical Society website. Kalamazoo Area Wild Ones. So, lots of neat meetings coming up. This is one you can stay at home. It's a free national webinar on the 21st from 7 to 8 p.m. And it is going to be talking about intergenerational care for land and community, a conversation with Robin Wall Kimmerer and Esther Bonney. And it's hosted by Wild Ones National. You need to register to get that Zoom link. Robin Wall Kimmerer is a member of the Potawatomi Nation, and she's written some fantastic books. So a very interesting, should be a very interesting webinar. Esther Bonney is actually a youngster. She was one of the founding director of Nurture Natives, and Nurture Natives has educated over 10,000 young people, planted 2.4 million native seeds, and distributed over 70,000 native seeds across the East Coast. So that's going to be a fun webinar, too, if you have a chance to link in. The Kalamazoo Area Wild Ones is also doing their monthly meeting on Wednesday, January 28th, and that is at Portage District Library. They start meeting at 6:30. The meeting usually starts at 7. And Douglas Tellamy is going to be talking about oak savanna garden design, going beyond prairie-style pollinator gardens. So if you're looking at maybe doing some more native planting, this might be a fantastic talk to sit in on and actually find out a little more about the oak prairies and savannas and what was a lot of native habitat here in southwest Michigan. So back to that other holiday. Coming up on the 21st of January is Squirrel Appreciation Day. And Squirrel Appreciation Day, you gotta admire, people have bird feeders. Almost everybody at some point or other has that very tenacious squirrel that wants to keep feeding. And so you usually have to get to the point where, okay, the squirrel's got to eat too. We either keep feeding them at the bird feeder or let's put some other feeders out for themselves. So that's some neat information about squirrels. Michigan's home to 9 species of squirrel. So we typically think of the fox, the gray, the red, and then we got the northern and southern flying squirrels. And if you remember a while ago, I actually did a trivia question on this, but the other 4 squirrels, or members of the squirrel family, are the least and eastern chipmunk. So 2 of those. 13-line ground squirrel, which sometimes people call gophers, and the groundhog or woodchuck. And you don't think of them being in the squirrel family, but they are. And so if you think about a woodchuck climbing a tree, you can sort of see that somewhat resemblance, I guess, with the squirrel family. So they vary in size, obviously, with the different animals. They adapt to living near people. They eat a variety of foods such as seeds, nuts, fruits, flowers, clovers, insects, eggs, and even young birds. So it depends on the squirrel what they have available for them in the area. Some squirrels spend the winter hibernating. So woodchucks or groundhogs typically are herbivores, eating vegetation, and so they spend the winter hibernating because food is unavailable for them. Contrary to popular belief, the Groundhog Day comes in February. Most woodchucks are still hibernating and do not come out to see their shadow. And if you've ever seen Punxsutawney Phil and they pull him out of his little cage, he looks pretty sleepy. That's why, because he's tried to hibernate yet. The flying squirrels, the 2 flying squirrels in Michigan, are northern flying squirrel typically is in the northern lower peninsula and in the upper peninsula. It's a close relative of the southern flying squirrel. It inhabits the southern lower peninsula and then further south. Flying squirrels are typically nocturnal, usually mature forests and parks, as well as other woodlands. They utilize many of the cavities found in mature trees for nesting and winter dunning. Unlike bats, flying squirrels do not really fly. They actually have a loose membrane of furred skin attached between their front and back legs, and they spread their legs and they glide from tree to tree. So the 2 largest squirrels, the fox and the gray, are by far the most hunted species. This is mostly due to their size and the fact that they may provide the most meat to a hunter. Usually active in the daytime. Red squirrels are hunted by some, but red squirrels are very small, and they can actually be very destructive if they get in your house. So most people don't like red squirrels hanging around. Some of the species can be taken primarily to resolve nuisance or damage issues, i.e. the groundhog or woodchuck. Flying squirrels are protected and do not have a hunting season. So if you have that bothersome flying squirrel, you're going to have to find somebody that's going to relocate that. So find a wildlife rehabilitator to locate that. And with that, we'll take a short break, and we'll come back. We'll talk some more about squirrels.
Squirrel Appreciation Week is going on right now. Squirrels provide entertainment that's all natural, rated G, and full of comedy. Waddell's Nursery Florist and Garden Center has just what you need to enjoy squirrel entertainment, including feeders, food, bungees, and more. Try the Squirrel Go-Round feeder. You mount the steel twirling arms onto a tree or post, attach 5 cobs of corn, then watch the wacky squirrel antics. Another fun feeder is the Squirrel Cob Bungee. Attach an ear of corn and follow the bouncing squirrel. Both of these fun squirrel feeders are on sale this week for $15.98. To fill up your squirrel feeders, get the 40-pound box of ear corn for just $24.99. And don't forget the birds. George's No Waste Mix is also on sale. The 20-pound bag is only $29.98, or get the 40-pound bag for $57.98 and save $6 per bag. Enjoy the unplugged live squirrel entertainment during Squirrel Appreciation Week, now through next Wednesday at Waddell's Nursery Florist and Garden Center.
Local news because I like to be involved in my community.
More Kalamazoo area news online than ever before at WKZO.com.
We now continue with our special edition of Nature Watch on 590 and 106.9 FM WKZO.
So we're talking about Squirrel Appreciation Day on January 21st. And some more interesting things and interesting facts about squirrels. So because they're chipmunks, Alvin and his friends will be celebrating National Squirrel Appreciation Day. So you just really bored and really want to celebrate National Squirrel Appreciation Day, pull up an Alvin and the Chipmunks album and start listening to them sing away. You know, watch the squirrels in your yard while you're doing that. Some other neat things with Arctic ground squirrels, so even though we're not in the Arctic, this is actually an interesting fact. They can lower their body temperature below freezing when they hibernate, but somehow do not turn into blocks of ice. They spend 8 months of the year in the longest and deepest hibernation of any animal on Earth. During this time, their core body temperature drops to a staggering 26.7 degrees Fahrenheit, almost 5 degrees below the freezing point of water. Despite this, ground squirrel blood remains liquid, most likely through a phenomenon known as supercooling. Brr. So, don't want to hibernate. That sounds really cold. The National Squirrel Appreciation Day was actually started in 2001 by a wildlife rehabilitation specialist, Christy Hargrove, in Asheville, North Carolina. And Christy created this day to encourage kind attitudes towards our bushy-tailed neighbors by setting out food and water for squirrels and even allowing them to play with that bird feeder you normally don't want them touching. Some other activities you can do for Squirrel Appreciation Day. Build a squirrel obstacle course. There's actually some neat YouTube videos of people that have done some very elaborate, almost Rube Goldberg-like obstacle courses for squirrels. Are very entertaining to watch. But maybe you can get creative and create your own for your squirrels. You know, make it a challenge for them to get to the bird feeder or the feeder station, the feeding station you have for the squirrels. Dress up your dog as a squirrel. So people like dressing up their animals and their dogs, so dress up your dog as a squirrel. If nothing else, just say the word squirrel a lot. So in Scrabble, it's worth 17 points. And that's if you don't get any triple word scores or any extra bonus points. But something fun to do. There are 265 species of squirrels worldwide, 44 species of flying squirrels. Gray squirrels build nests called drays, and that's D-R-E-Y-S, high up in trees. For you athletic folks, squirrels can jump up to 20 feet in a single bound. They can jump vertically 8 feet plus. So if you're a high jumper and you're trying to compete against a squirrel, you're going to have quite the challenge. Interesting, squirrels can run up to 20 miles per hour. And my little experience I had last week after the show was I was going home. I was just down the road from my house, and there was a squirrel, fox squirrel, decided to run in the road and ran parallel to me and was running at almost 20 miles per hour. And actually, I think he was thinking about crossing the road and then decided just to maybe race me or something, but didn't run in front of me and just ran parallel to me. We went for, probably 60, 70 yards at least before he took off to the left and found a tree to go into. But I was happy to see that fact of like, oh, I've experienced that. Squirrels can run that fast. They have excellent vision and hearing. They can remember the location of thousands of nuts. So when they bury those nuts for the food for later on in the winter, they remember most of those locations. They don't remember all of them. And they can live up to 10 years in the wild. It's estimated, because squirrels don't remember all those or don't eat all those nuts that they bury, it's estimated that squirrels plant over 1 billion oak trees worldwide when they bury their nuts to eat later or forget where they're buried, allowing the acorns to sprout. So that's a lot of oak trees coming up. Obviously, those trees don't all make it to full size, but squirrels are a good, important critter to help reforest those areas. So a lot of people leave bird baths out in the wintertime for the birds. Squirrels need some water too, so maybe you want to have that second one for the squirrels just so they don't upset your bird population. You can put some food out for them. There's all sorts of neat products that you can get. Ear corn's a good one to do. There's neat feeding stations. So I know at Waddell's we've got squungies, which is like a bungee that you can put an ear corn in. Make your squirrels work. They've got looks almost a little Ferris wheel type that spins around. So you put some ears of corn on that. Make them work and get their food and entertain you at the same time. They also do just, maybe in conjunction with that day before and take a walk outdoors day, maybe go out and observe some squirrels out in the wild. Take some photos, maybe post them on Facebook or so. And most people think of those squirrels as being pests by their bird feeders that scare away birds, but they're also beneficial. I mean, besides that entertainment that they provide, they actually eat a lot of garden pests, including ticks. So you don't think of squirrels as being that insect eater, but they do. So it helps the population of other animals. Sometimes they're referred to as tree rats, and some people make the comment that tree rats that dash in front of cars, invade bird feeders, and drop acorns on unsuspecting heads. But they are that critical part of nature. So squirrels inhabit cities, Arctic tundra, rainforests, and farms. So you see them everywhere. Word squirrel originates from the Greek words skia and ura, which together mean shadow tail. And if you see a squirrel with their big bushy tail, you know where they got their name. Gray squirrels were nearly eradicated from some cities in the mid-19th century, but reintroduction efforts were very successful. So there's some information about Central Park in New York City, and they had no squirrels, and they reintroduced them, and the population exploded. So enjoy the squirrels. They're going to be around. Besides the ear corn, they've got little logs with ground-up corn that you can feed the squirrels. We've got different squirrel feeders at Waddell's, so check that out. Put something out to entertain. Might as well entertain yourself more with the squirrel antics. It's always fun to see what they're doing, trying to get that food. Looking through some of the DNR and Eagle and MDARD newsletters, press releases, and most of that staff has been taking a little reprieve with the holidays and that too, and just getting up and running. But Eagle had a neat press release about the top 10 stories of 2025 for the last year. And I thought it was sort of interesting because we did talk about a few of them. Their number one story, and that was the most read stories that they published in 2025, was the Arctic grayling reintroduction. And that was something that they released back in June. And the Eagle department, actually the DNR, actually worked with a lot of Native Americans as far as releasing grayling eggs. And the Little River Band of Ottawa Indians, Little Traverse Bay Band of Odawa, and Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa are the groups that they worked with. They released over 400,000 Arctic grayling eggs, and they've got designated streams that they do that. Grayling used to be very common, and they are one of those native fish that had basically disappeared from Michigan streams by 1936. And that was one of the foods that the Native Americans used as one of their basic primary food sources. So a few reintroduction attempts were made in the late 1980s, but were not successful. And since the water quality has improved, since some of the very landmark laws in the 1970s and since, the comeback effort is underway, and it seems to be having a lot of success. They are actually working with the Alaskan Natural Resources Department, because Alaska, they still have grayling. Arctic grayling is actually that very much northern hemisphere fish, and they are using that to some of the fisheries and fish hatcheries to get eggs from some of those other states that still have a native Arctic grayling population. The second most read story in Eagle's press releases was one that came out in May, and it was about one of the staff members that was a very active rock hound in collecting rocks. And so one of the big stories about it is that when you're out, if you're a rock hound and out looking at rocks, watch for those erratics. Some of those rocks were drugged for thousands of miles by the glaciers and then dropped. And you can find those very unusual stones. If you do pick up rocks in any of the state properties, like state parks and that, you are limited per year of 25 pounds per person. That's on any public properties that are administered by the state of Michigan. And if you think about it, 25 pounds of rocks isn't a whole lot of rocks. So pick out that really special rock. Make sure it's hopefully small so you get multiple types of rock, but something fun to look at. Actually seeing all those rocks, and you get up in the Upper Peninsula along the Lake Superior shoreline. Sometimes you can get see some of those Uper lights, so those rocks that have that special glowing effect when you put a UV light on them, or black light. The other stories they had about two leaking wells in an Ottawa County lake, about a beach guard, new attention that Eagle was focusing on groundwater. The other couple of stories that I know, one of these I talked about was the popular golden oyster mushrooms, which is not native, but they've become invasive in Michigan forests. And that was in the beginning of September that they came out with that. So if you're out and about and you see those golden oyster mushrooms, remove them, because they are starting to crowd out a lot of the native species, and there are some natives that mushrooms that look very similar, but people who have grown those are very common for people that are growing mushrooms, and with them escaping, they're going to be affecting our environment. So those are three of the stories that they had. A few other stories. That was number 10, was the about the golden eagle or golden oyster mushrooms. And so if you have a chance, go to the website. You can see all the press releases they have. The DNR just came out with, after the first of the year, about another aspect with the fish hatcheries. And since last fall, or this past fall, the Michigan DNR actually released over 648,000 fish at 76 locations statewide. And with the spring and summer stocking efforts, the 2025 total reached nearly 19.5 million fish stocked in Michigan's waters. And so it depends on which fish that they're releasing and growing. That depends on which fish hatchery they come from. A lot of it depends on their source water. And they actually, we've got a fish hatchery not too far away, Wolf Lake State Fish Hatchery, and that's actually a fun place to visit, especially if you've got kids. But even as an adult, it's fun to see, and actually, even just to hike around their ponds and that at various times a year. I know quite a few years ago, I took a hike with a bunch of Cub Scouts and challenged them to find a wildflower I didn't know, and that was like the middle end of summer. They had a hard time finding something I didn't know. That was a few years ago. So a lot of variety out there. With those bodies of water, you see a lot of waterfowl during migration. So there's a good chance to see all sorts of wildlife besides fish growing in those ponds. And So if you have a chance, maybe that's a good something to do on that. Get out and take a hike outdoors day, and go out to the Wolf Lake Fish Hatchery and hike around their trails. The DNR actually has some neat events coming up, and mostly volunteer events for doing some volunteer work at a lot of the state areas. They also have some educational series coming up, so at some of the state locations. If you go to the DNR website and actually go to their calendar, you can see where all these events are. Or you can go to their press release area, and their newsletter that was issued January 6th actually has some stories about all those different locations. But there's a lot of neat chances to go out and volunteer in the outdoors as far as helping clean up things. I know Pierce Cedar Creek Institute has days for removing invasive brush. A lot of the other groups like Southwest Michigan Land Conservancy have volunteer days. And so if you have a chance and you want to get out of the house and do something productive besides just shoveling snow, go out and maybe help remove some invasive species. So especially if you get those little warmer days, it's nice to go out and about and get outside. Enjoy the weather. Looks like we might have some cold again, more snow. It's winter. Enjoy it. It's sooner or later we get really tired of it. It's start warming up. We'll have springtime again, and we'll start seeing those spring flowers come about, and start seeing those migrating birds. So we're still seeing lots of wild birds, waterfowl on those bodies of water that are open. And with this warmer weather that we've had, open up water, we see lots of those birds around. So if you have a chance, get out and about. Take your binoculars or spotting scope and enjoy the outdoors.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week.
Thank you, Gary. And thank you for listening to this edition of Nature Watch. Tune in each Saturday at 8:30 for Nature Watch, brought to you by Waddell's Nursery, Floral, Garden, and Bird Center at the corner of 12th Street and Millam Road. CBS and local news is up next, and then America Outdoors right here on 590 and 106.9 FM WKZO.